May it please the court, when the defense staff was assembled just 3 months ago, each of us wondered what defense we could possibly make for these 74 accused. After all the newspaper accounts of this bloody incident, earnestly we interviewed the defendants who had all been in solitary confinement up to that time. The pattern was remarkable. One universal difficulty was trying to gain the confidence of our client. Each of them simply thought that this was another trick of Schwäbische Hall. 3 meetings were held of all of the accused, with even their own officers exhorting them to have faith and confidence in us. Then unfolded the most amazing pattern of what the prosecution has called, quote, months of continuous interrogation in which all of the legitimate tricks, ruses, and stratagem known to investigators were employed. Among the artifices used were stool pigeons, witnesses who were not bona fide, and ceremonies, end of quote. Fear was the most common element. Why should they go through with another trial and another sentence when they had written what their defense counsel had already told them to write? You may have wondered why these accused discontinued appearing in their own behalf. That was my decision, because the fear of the prosecution still lingered in their minds after months of solitary confinement. This was even testified to by some of the prosecution's own witnesses who were returned to the stand by the defense. A complete picture of these tricks, ruses, and beatings would have been shown except for my decision. Does the Army of the United States generally conduct its affairs in this manner? You and I know the answer. Our Army is hard but fair. My last commanding general, Ted Burke, a fighting soldier, so often told me, an honest question deserves an honest answer. The question is here put to you: can an American Army officer's court convict men on such statements? And the question is here put to you: can an American Army officer's court convict men on such statements or confessions? Your attention is called to another age-old principle of law. Your attention is called to another age-old principle of all law. He who comes into court must do so with clean hands. Do you consider force, mock trials, prosecutors and defense counsels, promises of freedom and so forth as legitimate tricks worthy of American Army customs while coming before this tribunal with clean hands? Do you not see the results? In some cases, the prosecution has attempted to prove by certain confessions, admitted shooting, church walls, which never existed. Remember the state of mind of these kids, filled with fear and only small hopes. Would you, at their age and under their circumstances, not have signed anything if you could be out in a few months? My observation of both military and civil justice as administered by a great nation is that there is no power so unrestrained that can lurk within the halls of justice to deprive any person, even an enemy soldier, of his life based on admitted ruses, artifices, and ceremony. The prosecution offers you no proof of acceptance of American soldiers as prisoners of war. Instead, they attempt to prove cold-blooded murder by admissions of one accused against another, cunningly dictated as a further form of stratagem. It is felt that such a sentence would be unworthy of the traditions of our American people or of the immense sacrifices that they have made to further the spirit of democracy and common ideals to mankind. It is requested that each of you bear in mind, as you consider the individual case of each accused, that primitive impulses of vengeance and retaliation among victimized people are often called forth in the heat of battle or as the culmination of a war-weary last struggle against an overwhelming enemy. Thus, a spiral of inhumanities mounts, which have always been the inevitable byproduct of man's resort to force and arms, whether he be enemy or ally. Many times we have heard in this complete trial of the variance in the type of warfare between the Western and Eastern fronts. Can we, as free-thinking people, for one moment seriously say that by condemning these accused, an example will forever be shown to the world, thereby preventing in future wars such a recurrence? May it never be said that stark retribution has been freed to masquerade in a military government cloak of false legalism, only later to be visited upon our successors in arms. The citizenry of our enemy will, I am confident, have their faith in your fairness and impassionate judgment strengthened, and fires of a new democratic nationalism unknown to them heretofore will be kindled. It was the great patriot Thomas Paine who said, "He who would make his own liberty secure must guard even his enemy from oppression, for if he violates this duty, he establishes a precedent that will reach himself." I leave in God's and your hand the fair judgment of these 74 accused.